All right, welcome to the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast, episode 33. I'm going to call it the Patrick Ewing episode. Some people, okay, you like that? Some people may call it the Larry Bird episode.
I like that too. We had a bunch of names we were throwing around before, and I'm trying to.
One of them, Harvey episode?
Matt Harvey, that was hilarious. I don't know if he was. What number was he with the Mets? Was he 32 or 33?
33.
Okay.
So Harry Gant, old NASCAR racer.
I took it to NASCAR. Something we never talk about on this podcast until
we
now.
may need to take a break right now.
I knew I'd throw a wrench into the situation.
I wasn't prepared for that.
If you're wondering who the guy sitting between us is,
well, if you're a Yankee fan or a Net fan, you already know.
Yeah. Chris Shearn, Yes Network studio host, friend of the program.
Yes.
He checks out the Ain't Hard to
First
Tell
time,
podcast.
long time.
WFN reference for those who don't know out of the New York area. But Chris, thank you for coming. We're glad that you're here.
Happy to be here.
Very, very glad you're here. Chris is also a Yankee fan.
I am.
So life is good for him right now.
It is. both professionally and personally. Yeah.
Yes.
Dexter said that in a way where you're not too happy with.
Are you saying that I was throwing some shade or disdain towards Chris?
Why would that be? Who do you root for?
I root for a team in New York whose colors are blue and orange. Or as I like to say to my dad, who's a Yankee fan, when I'm annoyed, that team in Queens.
Now, let me ask you a question. Let me turn it around on you.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Is the reason you're a Met fan because your dad is a Yankee fan?
No. And I'm gonna, you know what? My dad is not going to be happy about.
Did you want that?
No, my dad isn't going to be happy about the story
conflict?
because he will deny this. I was a Met fan when I was growing up. I saw Doc and Darryl. I liked them. I liked their colors, and I immediately became a fan. Now my dad.
What's not to like about Doc and Darryl?
No, right. Now my dad used to take me to Mets games, right? And he claimed he was a Met fan, but then at some point, which is '96, I know the exact point. That's when it turned. And he liked what the Yankees were doing, so he became a Yankee
Weren't
fan.
Doc and Darryl on?
Oh, yeah. Now, I call sorry, Dad, but I call my dad a fraud of a fan for this. He denies this story, but that is the truth.
Yeah.
So it wasn't to like go against my dad or anything.
Yeah.
My dad just he jumped ship.
So your dad's the fraud here.
Yeah, my dad's a fraud.
My seventh grade social studies teacher was a huge Met fan, and we had like these extra specials in my middle school, and one of them was baseball appreciation, and she was the one that did that after school special. So I obviously joined up. I didn't know it was going to be Miss Biddo who was running it, who's a huge Met fan. Guess what year it was?
1986?
Yeah. So the whole time in baseball appreciation, she's putting in that video, we got the teamwork to make a dream work. Let's go. And I'm like, oh, what did I do?
So you were sick to your stomach?
Yeah.
So you're feeling like how I'm feeling now?
Vomitous.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. We have a Yankee fan between us.
Things are very, very different from '86 to now.
Very, very different.
I mean, even 2005. The Mets couldn't even enjoy that for longer than all of 2 seasons.
You don't even have to watch a Mets game to know how the Mets are doing.
No.
All you have to do, because all the way down here from Connecticut to Brooklyn, I listen to Joe and Evan.
Okay.
And if you want to know how, that is like the Mets dipstick.
Oh, yeah.
If you put the dipstick into Joe and Evan and pull it out and look at it, you know exactly how that team is doing, especially Beningo. I mean, that guy, that's why he's so good on WFAN, because he is a true fan.
Yes.
Calling into the show all the time. Then he did the overnights. He was tremendous on that. He's a Ranger fan, so we bonded there, him and I, not together like in person, but on the radio and listening to him. But that's why I love Beningo so much, because he bleeds his team colors
I love that.
on the air. And I think that's why a lot of the fans love him, because it's like they have a voice on the radio. And Evan's kind of the same way.
Evan's
He's just a younger version. He hasn't suffered as much.
Yeah, Evan and I are the same age, and we root
Beningo.
for all the same teams except for basketball. And I love, shout out to Joe and Evan, love their show, still listen to them for 10 to 1 in the Fan, give them a plug. They're great. That's why I love Joe Beningo growing up. I listened to him overnight.
Bro.
I love that. He was just so raw and passionate. And I like that. I'm glad that you like that as a broadcaster too. I'm glad that you like that as well too. But let's get into you.
Right.
Okay. With Chris Shearn, Yes Network studio host, for people who don't know. Chris, what I don't know about you, because we've known each other for quite some time. I have no idea. How did you get your start? How did you get into broadcasting? How did you end up at the Yes Network? Tell the people. People want to know.
Oh, boy.
People are interested.
Especially since you just said you're pretty much one of the originals there.
Yeah, 2002, I was there when we launched. And it's that old saying, guys. It's not exactly what you know sometimes. It's who you know. And it's not all the time being really great at your job, which creates the luck that helps you get into certain situations, because you're not going to get into certain situations unless you work hard. They say you have to get lucky sometimes. Well, working hard gets you lucky. You're not just going to sit on your rear end and have luck get thrown at you.
Right.
So, as it turns out, I went to Rowan University down in South Jersey.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a small Division III school. I wasn't a really big D1 guy. I didn't want to go to a big campus, which is why I went to Rowan. It was in New Jersey. It was close to home, an hour and a half away. They had a great television program. It was just starting. It was just the communications department back then. It wasn't a school. Now it is. And it was just Rowan College. Now it's Rowan University. So I started there. I had great professors. I had a great class. Everybody points, I don't know if you guys do, and I'll ask you when I'm done, but I point to one class in my tenure at Rowan University, and he always says, oh, stop, it was you, it wasn't me. But it was him. It was Ed Kasuba. He worked for KYW News Radio down in Philadelphia. He was the South Jersey bureau chief, and he taught a class. He was an adjunct professor, and he taught broadcast journalism. That class changed my life. It turned my life around on a dime, because he ran that class like a newsroom. If you turned in a paper late, if you walked into a class late, you got a 0.
I love that.
You got an
He held you
absolute
accountable.
0. He held you accountable. That classroom was a newsroom, and that I still have to this day. I graduated in '96. And I'll text you a picture of it.
That was a good year for you.
Yeah, it was.
Yankees won. You graduated.
So was 98. So was 99. So was 2000.
Rubbing it in.
2009 also.
But I still have my broadcast journalism Rowan University notebook, because it has style notes on how to write broadcasts and everything else. So I point back to that as really starting to get the itch. I worked at the radio station there. I had a morning show. I did that Monday through Friday. I was very involved in sports there, and it started getting everything going. We had a TV station on campus.
Okay.
And it was only showing the menu for lunch and birthdays.
Nice.
So I went to student government with the RTVA Association, Radio Television Association. I said, guys, we need to do something different. And they granted us $30,000. We got equipment, and it's been off and running ever since. I never was able to do a show on it, but all the kids that came after me, sorry, young adults, not kids, young men and women.
Yeah, don't be.
I know. It's 2018. I gotta fast forward from 1988. But all those young men and women are getting the opportunity to have shows on that TV station and to get ready. It's an extra level of preparation to release you into the wild. So that really started it. After that, I went out to Las Vegas, and I was an intern at a conference out there. 15 people from Rowan, 15 people from other colleges around the country. We wore red blazers, and we showed people the bathroom is this way.
That was your job?
Yeah, that was my job. But we got breaks during the day, and we were able to go on the floor. It was the NAPI conference, National Association of Television Producers and Engineers. And they packaged shows and sold shows, and you were able to walk around, talk, and network. And I went all the way, I say this all the time, I went all the way to Vegas to meet guys from South Hackensack, New Jersey, who worked at Major League Baseball Productions. And they said, you know what, you're graduating. December 95 I graduated, I walked in 96. And they said, as soon as you get back home, send us your information, somebody will reach out to you. Sent them my information, and I started out as a logger. But I just graduated college. So to all the young men and women out there who just graduated college and you don't have a job in your field, listen carefully.
Okay, listen up, kids.
Yes.
I call them kids.
I was slicing bread and icing donuts at an A&P bakery from 6 to noon, and then I was logging for SNS, Sports News Satellite, also a subsidiary of Major League Baseball Productions at the time, from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. So they were long days. I wasn't making any money. College loans were going to start to kick in. And as luck would have it, there's the luck, but I was working hard. I didn't like icing donuts. I didn't like learning to make garlic bread and stacking the bagels and stacking the rolls in the morning.
I'm surprised you didn't like that.
But I did it. But I did it. I was at the bread slicer very early in the morning. So I went to 4.5 years of college for this. But anyway, it paid off. It paid off because I was coaching my younger brother's Little League baseball team, which won the district championship that year. And my shameless plug.
What a great year. Beside the bread slicer.
But it's about to get better.
The shortstop on that team, his aunt, worked for CNBC. CNBC was starting, or NBC, I should say, was starting MSNBC with Bill Gates and Microsoft, and they needed some lower tier people. So she said, "Give me your resume. I'll give it to my sister, and we'll see what happens." So there it was. Worked hard, ran into some luck. I was, everybody knows production assistants are
low on the totem pole.
Usually the start.
Production assistants are here. I was a tape PA, so I kind of settled in right here. It wasn't a lot of money. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about how much it was. It wasn't a lot, trust me.
Right. We'll believe you.
But they gave me a 2-week trial period. And they said, "We'll try you out. If we like you, we'll see about getting you a staff position." 2 weeks later, hard work, saying yes to everything, I got a staff position.
How many hours for those 2 weeks?
For those two, a lot. It was a lot. Whenever they needed me to work, I was there. I stayed late. We launched July 16th, 1996. July 18th, 1996, Flight 800 crashed. The one to Paris. Right off of Long Island.
Wow, I remember that.
So we weren't even set up in the studio yet. Brian Williams, I can remember him being on set in the studio saying, "I need a basis computer out here right now," like live on the air. And then our tech manager was running around like a chicken with his head cut off trying to get him a computer set up because we weren't fully ready to go. And we had to launch. So I worked there. I'll speed that up because I know this story is long and I apologize.
No, it's fine. People need to
you
hear
have
the
the floor. Yeah, absolutely.
But 1996, I started there when we launched. I just told somebody the other day, I've been on one interview in 22 years.
Really?
One.
Was that for Yes?
For MSNBC.
For MSNBC.
Because Yes kind of happened. I was at MSNBC from 96 to 2000. Here's some advice from your Uncle Chris, boys and girls.
Listen up, children.
All right.
A,
Young
never
people.
date anybody at work, and B, don't get engaged, because if it doesn't work out, the work environment isn't really all that great. So, so that happened.
That's real. All right.
So that happened.
You want to just leave it at that?
And in 2000, I left MSNBC. I didn't really want to,
But you kind of felt like you had to.
but I did.
Yeah. Okay.
But I did, and my friend, he was an investment banker. He's retired, by the way, and he's my age.
Oh, nice.
So I clearly
we-
chose the wrong path.
We've chosen wrong.
But he said, "I'm moving out to San Francisco. I'm going to have like the entire West Coast is going to be under my umbrella. You have to get out of Dodge, come out to California, live with me, try to find something. If you don't, fine, move back. But I think you need to just hit the reset button and get away from everything." So I moved out to California. I did that. I was out there for like 4 months. It didn't work out. I couldn't find steady work. I packed my Pontiac Sunfire.
Nice throwback.
And I drove all the way back to New Jersey in 2.5 days. And when MSNBC found out I was back, they said, "Oh my God, you're back? We need you." Went back to MSNBC. I was there from 2000 to 2002. I covered September 11th. If you want to get into that, I will. But I don't want to elongate this story anymore.
I don't know if I really was.
Yeah. But I was there for that. The breaking news aspect of that was unbelievable.
I'm sorry, I have to hijack for a slightly important question regarding that. You went back to MSNBC. Now, was the person there?
The ex-fiance was still there.
Ah, that's tough. That's rough. That's
hey,
a rough one.
But
you made it work.
But here's another piece of advice from your Uncle Chris.
Oh,
Here we
yes.
go. I like
Gems. Gemful.
When you leave someplace and come back, you make more money because you've been other places, you've seen more experience. So the more and more you bounce around, the more and more you go up the ladder in that.
If you're listening, these are two great gems.
Great career advice.
Yes.
But
I'm going to play this one back.
But again, but again, no engagements.
Yes.
Yes.
Only if you're damn sure about it.
But nothing's really damn sure. But that's okay.
But at MSNBC, I met somebody who left MSNBC and actually went to Yes. And I was, for 6 months after September 11th, my job was the overnights, watching them pull bodies and body parts out of the wreckage and logging it for the morning producers. So when he called me, I told you that not to bring everybody down, but to say, when he called me, whatever the job was at Yes, I was going to say yes. Because I just...
You were over it.
I couldn't do it anymore.
You were numb to it at that point?
Well, one of my friends from high school passed, too. So every night, it was just emotionally, I couldn't handle it anymore. And when he called me and said, do you want... Yes, I don't care.
Yeah,
whatever, I'll sweep
like
up. I don't care what it is. Just get me out of here.
Right.
2002, started at Yes as an associate producer. I'll hit the fast forward button a little bit here. Mike and Chris, we were doing the Mike and the Mad Dog show, and sometimes the show before that, and I believe it was Jody and Sid, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, at that time it was, yes.
And Jody and Sid would sometimes go long, and we would be up on this still of Mike and Chris for sometimes a minute to 2 minutes. And you guys know as well as anybody, that amount of time in TV is an eternity.
Yes,
it's an eternity.
Yes.
So
with nothing going on.
Yeah, I went to my boss and I said, hey, I don't have to be on camera, because I always had this itch to do on-air stuff. I said, I don't have to be on camera. I said, but let me do just a highlight rip, and that'll bridge the gap, and we could skip their 2020 at the top, and we could go right from my highlight rip
Into Mike and Chris.
Or we can go to a minute break and then Mike and Chris. It'll be seamless. So, I like that, but let me see on camera. And this is Woody Fryman. I have to give him credit. He said, send me a tape, let me see how it looks. And we did a demo and we sent it to him. And he said, go ahead and do it. And John Filippelli, of course, signed off on it. And I owe Mr. Filippelli and I owe Woody my life, because those two had the foresight in that tape that they saw in me to say, hey, this might work out. And then that led to doing high school hockey sideline. And, I'm a hockey fan, but I've never played the sport in my life. So that was a little rough along the way. But this is what kids have to understand. You have to do things that scare you. You have to do in the business, not cliff dive or anything like that. I don't want anybody to think they have to skydive.
Well, and I don't mean to say, but you're saying kind of take a jump in your career, do something.
You have to,
because I think you gave the two guys credit there, but I think one of the other things that's important is you also took advantage of, said, hey, there's an opportunity here.
Yeah.
Let me ask for it. You weren't afraid to ask for it.
You have to open your mouth. My dad tells me all the time, the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Yeah,
and if you don't open your mouth, you're never going to know. Now, that turned into the high school hockey, which then turned into other opportunities, and they were going to start the batting practice show in 2006, and they kind of eased me into it. They had Bob Lorenz host it, and then I would come in the C block, and I would just do a highlight rip, because that's what I was doing for Mike and Chris. So they tested me out, and after about a week, that was it. The training wheels were off. I was hosting the BP show, and the rest is history. Here I am. God almighty. I
hope that didn't make you feel old. Sometimes I tell stories that make you feel old.
Years. No, and I can remember, I was 28 when I started working at Yes, I was 28.
28.
Yeah.
28, Brian.
Crazy.
28, Dexter.
Yeah. When we come back from break, I definitely want to ask about.
And I'm 44.
I definitely want to ask about
Yeah,
that.
it makes you feel old. It does make you feel old. You can say it. I'll say it. Sometimes you think about stuff, you don't realize how much you've done in a short period of time in your career. And you need to appreciate it. I try to tell kids that too. I know you do.
You try to tell me that.
I tell Brian all the time. Appreciate it as you're going along, because a lot can happen very quickly.
I'm trying to.
My wife just said that. My wife just said that to me.
She's a smart woman.
She said, because I get down a lot. I do.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think I do, but I do, because you're always spinning your wheels. You always want more. You know, and that's the sign of a true competitor.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the way I've been, and that's what my father molded me into. You know, never be complacent. Never be the old shoe that's just sitting in the closet. Hey, yeah, you know, he's not going to throw me away. He wears me from time. No,
somebody will throw
you
you
always want the new Jordans.
Yeah.
You always want the new Jordans.
Yeah.
So that's what I have inside of me. And my wife says, you never know. Every time you leave the house might be the day that your life just changes. Like
Yeah.
And
I try to think
so
the same
I think
way.
I think to be both ways before we go to break, I think that's important. I'm just like you too, always competitive. I know Brian is like this too.
Yeah,
We'll
because
talk
you have
about
to
the
reel me in
content
from
break.
time to time.
Yeah, but sometimes you got to take a step back, and you amaze yourself. I think you just did it by telling the story. You're like,
Yeah.
wow, I did all this stuff in
Yeah,
16
right.
years,
Yeah.
because you probably don't really ever. When do you get to say this is what I did from 1995 to 2018?
I try to block out
the actual
the
years.
bakery
Right.
portion of
Right.
but it's part of my story. You know,
It is,
everything
yeah, it
is
is.
part of your story. It's how your medal is brought along. You know,
Yep.
everything is breaking through a wall and breaking
Yeah.
through a wall. It's hard work. Nothing was ever handed to me. Nothing.
Right.
I'm from a small town in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I went to a small university. I paid off college loans for 12 years plus interest. You know, my parents didn't have the means to just say, here, go to college.
Right.
I had to work for it.
Right.
You know, it's not like you just walk into something and say, oh, here's everything. Here's your job at Yes. Here's this. Everything was I worked hard for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I need to say that. You know, people just look at you sometimes and say, well, you know.
Oh, they can do your job kind of stuff.
Or you just got
yeah,
here.
you know. But
I
you
just
know,
got here doing
like
nothing.
they see you on TV and they're like, oh, I can do that.
There's
all
been
the
a lot
time.
of trials, a lot of tribulations. Yeah, and it's all about. There was a sign in the Angels clubhouse, and this was before I got into TV. And I've taken this quote with me, and I forget who the manager was. It's gonna kill me. I
wasn't
could see him.
Socha?
No, it was before
Before
Socha.
Socha.
And it's gonna kill me. I can't remember the guy's name. I could see his face, and I can't remember his name. But he wrote it on there, and it said, "If you travel down a path that doesn't have any obstacles, chances are it doesn't lead anywhere."
I like that.
So
I love some cool motivational quotes.
I'm like Barry Sanders, man. I am cutting. I'm doing spin moves.
Is it Terry Collins?
It was not Terry Collins.
Oh, I was gonna. That would have been ironic.
It was before Terry Collins.
Joe Madden.
I like that. I like that quote.
Might have been Madden.
Joe Madden was there for a short amount of time.
It might have been Madden before.
Marcel Lackerman.
Latchman? No.
Lashman.
No, it
Oh, I
wasn't
thought there
Marcel
was an
Latchman.
R in there.
Either way, it's a fantastic quote.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
we love the quote. All right, so we've heard Chris.
I hope it was
Shearn's
Terry
story.
Collins.
I hope people enjoyed that. We're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna talk about regional sports, the impact of that. We're gonna talk some Yankees baseball. Maybe we'll talk about the Mets. I don't know about all that. Some Brooklyn Nets basketball and the
And
NBA
we'll
Finals.
fix our background.
Yeah, which went off in the middle of us doing that.
But
We'll
we
talk-
just keep it going.
We'll talk about more about that when we come back on the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast.
What's up, listeners? You know sometimes how it can be hard just to get from point A to point B. Now, when I have to get anywhere and I don't want to deal with the hassle of public transportation, it ain't hard to tell how I get around. I always make sure to use the best car service app in the game. I'm talking about Lyft. Lyft offers rides in minutes. All you have to do is download the Lyft app, request a ride, and you will be on your way quickly. Lyft is all about happy riders and happy drivers. Take a ride with them and you'll see why 9 out of 10 rides end up with a 5-star rating. Lyft always has amazing offers for new customers, and I'm here to tell our listeners about a great offer today. Lyft is currently offering free ride credit to Ain't Hard to Tell listeners. If you are new to Lyft, then you are eligible, and getting your credit is easy. All you have to do is download the app and use the promo code AHTT-POD to unlock your free credit today. Ain't hard to tell who has the best car app service, so use the code today and ride out loud with Lyft. The best new sports web series is here. It's from Backpack Broadcasting, and it's called The Sports Walk. The Sports Walk is a series where diverse sports fans take a walk and share their views at the intersection of sports and society. The entire first season is now available on Backpack Broadcasting's YouTube channel and backpackbroadcasting.com. See what other sports fans have to say about a variety of issues in the world of sports. Watch all 13 episodes from season 1 and take The Sports Walk today.
Episode 33 of the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast. Our guest is Chris Shearn, host, pregame, postgame, Yankees, Nets, does all that.
Pick something.
I
pretty much do it.
Pick something. You've seen him on there. If you haven't seen him on there, then I guess you're not watching Yes.
Yes, basically, if you know.
Just call me copy and paste.
Right. If you know the Yes Network, you definitely know our guest. And we were just talking about the Yes Network off air. The origins of that. You were there from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about that story you were talking about how the Devils were involved.
Oh yeah,
and the Nets were involved like right at the beginning because you got there in 2002, and this was right as Yes was starting.
This was before, and I know we touched on me being at MSNBC around September 11th, and before that even happened. So this is in 2001. Someone who knew I was a ridiculous Yankees fan, who I worked with at MSNBC, sent me a link to a website that they found, and I could remember it like it was yesterday. It's amazing what your brain can do with the filing cabinet, but I could see it. It was like a dark blue background, and it had the Yankees, the New Jersey Nets logo, and the Devils logo, and it was YankeeNetsTV.com or YankeeNets.tv or something like that. And it was one of those moments where, your eyes get big and your mouth just opens up like, wait a minute.
Like,
the Yankees are going to have their own network.
Yeah.
So there was a link to send your resume. So obviously, clicked the link, sent my resume, and I got the form back. We're not taking any more resumes at this
I've
time.
seen that before.
So
you got that form. I thought you were going to get the one that's like, we're going to consider you.
No.
I've gotten that one too. Okay.
No,
they gave you the nah, this isn't happening.
Not going to happen. So I kind of slumped in my chair at the edit desk. I was like, all right, well, I guess that isn't going to happen. And then somebody, you never know though, somebody that you know, I'm going to tell you this right now.
Yes.
Another tip of advice
from
your
Uncle Chris.
Yes. I'm in
this
church.
is a very small business.
Oh, yeah.
You never want to throw gasoline on any bridge and strike a lighter and throw it over your shoulder.
Right.
You never know that person you work with, that person you run into at an arena, that could be running a network someday or get into a position at a network someday that can help you get a job at that network. You need to play everything close to the vest. You need to be, you can't shut anybody out.
Right.
That's the main point I'm trying to make. You can't be jealous of what other people have, and you can't shut anybody out because that person or the person that you may want to shut out is the person that is going to help you get to that next level. It's a very small business. I run into people across the country that I used to work with at MSNBC. We're everywhere. It's a big business, especially now. Like 30 years ago, the guys that work at Yes, that used to work at ABC, the business was small back then. Now it's gigantic, but
still very connected.
But it's still very connected and very small. So
that's
sorry to go off on that tangent.
But what about the sort of the origins of the Yes Network? Like, now from the network standpoint, just kind of going in, I mean, did you envision that it would become this? Did you maybe there's a story about whether or not it was going to fail at some point?
No, I knew this.
Okay.
I knew this for a fact. Because of the backing that we had with Goldman Sachs at the outset, and because it was the New York Yankees, and because they were coming off the dynasty, I knew that the team was still very competitive and had a chance to get back to multiple World Series. They did in 2003. They had a shot in 2002. We all know what happened in 2004. But you know, going in to answer your question, it's the Yankees.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything is too big to fail,
The brand is very, very, very
I mean,
strong.
it's just it's going into a job and knowing that you pretty much have security. That's at least the way I looked at it. And you know, who knew that the first couple of years the Nets would have the seasons they had. And you know, I grew up a Knicks fan. I still am, and I know Net fans don't want to hear that. But I root for the Nets, and other fans might be saying, other fans might be saying right now, how could you be a Knicks fan and root for the Nets?
Oh, Dexter gets that all the time.
Well, yeah, I get
because
that
they're part of our brand. That's why I'd be stupid
To
to
root
not
against
root
them.
for the Nets.
Right.
And when you cover a team, especially now, and I know we're going to get into the Nets later, so I don't want to rush.
Yeah,
bit,
no, it's fine.
But I like the guys on this team.
Right.
I like the coach of this team. I
Right.
like the general manager of this team.
And you couldn't always say that.
No, there's a lot to like. There's just a lot to like about the Brooklyn Nets, and that's not the companies coming through me.
Yeah.
That's just my genuine. When you do this, when you're in this business and you're around it,
Yeah.
I think you get desensitized to it a little bit.
You do.
You're
You
not
do.
as much of a rabid fan anymore as you know the business
Oh, I'm
part
already
of
there.
it. You know what I
I'm
mean?
already desensitized.
So it's an interesting way to look at it, and I think, you know, I could still be a crazy Knicks fan and root for the Nets. I'm sorry if you can't handle that out there, but it's the
Yeah, I because we both do work for Nets Daily,
And that's
being a
why we
video-
get that all the
being a
time,
video
like-
journalist for Nets Daily, I've just always had Nets fans who either find out that I grew up a Knicks fan or I love
Yeah.
the Knicks, and I still do, and they'll be like, "How could you do that?"
Yeah.
But I never not want the Nets to succeed
because it's in your blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Nets succeeding has given me great opportunities. It's given
Yeah.
Brian great, opportunities.
Well,
Even
they
though
haven't
They haven't been that
succeeded
great
yet.
when he covered him. But I
Would
got
be
to, when they
them,
first
but-
came to Brooklyn, I got to cover them a lot and go to practices and sort of do this great content that we had.
Yeah.
So of course I want to see them
Yeah,
do good.
and
I
I'm there
never
all
want
the-
to see them do bad. I mean,
Yeah.
now if they play the Knicks in a series, everybody knows
Yeah.
who I'm rooting for.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to put that out in my work. It hasn't affected my work or what I do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's good you brought that up that fans can understand that.
Yeah.
And part of that with the podcast, not to cut you off.
no, it's
Part of that with the podcast when we started it, we were like, oh, we know that Dexter's Knick fandom is going to be kind of pushed to the forefront here. So as that kind of started, because we're revealing ourselves more and more. This is our 33rd episode now, and then it's like a
The
lot
Harry Gann episode.
right.
Yeah,
and then,
we're going with that.
and then a lot of Net fans were like,
He drove the Skull Bandit car, by the way.
Didn't know that.
a lot of Net fans are like, oh, I can't believe Dexter's a Knick fan, and they can't kind of differentiate the two when to us being in this business, and I've been here a lot shorter time than you guys have, but I can understand already that. I mean, you're going to be desensitized to it.
But I'm still going to be who I am and still be
And it's easy to
professional. I
separate
think
the two. It's
Chris
easy to
has do the
separate
same
your
thing.
Yeah.
it's easy to separate if a fan of a different team. Like it's easy to separate who you are professionally versus who you are personally.
Yeah, but I think Chris might even agree with me on this, and he talked to hit on this a little bit. Is hey, when you work in this business a lot, and Chris is a Yankee fan, and he's a Knicks fan, and grew up a Knicks fan. You become less of a rabid fan, as he said. You start to look at the wins and losses. It doesn't mean it doesn't hurt as bad.
Right.
You remember when like a Yankee loss or a Knick loss used to mess up your week?
I'll tell you right
It
now.
doesn't happen anymore. Not for me.
I'll tell you this.
I'm too old for that.
I'll tell you this straight up. 2004, I needed medication.
Damn. You know what?
NyQuil. I could not
no, but
sleep
that-
without the help of NyQuil.
No, but that
That's tough. That was the worst Yankees
that's
fan's
the
worst
thing.
nightmare.
I understand.
I
that.
understand.
I
it.
mean, you know what
Now,
I mean.
the other people can look at it and say, Yankees, you guys won all the time. How could
Still.
you feel bad about 2004? Because 2004
Because
was
it
the
was
worst
the
way.
Red Sox.
And it was if you-
3-0, and then oh my god!
But you know what?
And I'll
to
never
lose 4
forget it.
straight?
I'll never forget
Yeah.
it. Before Game 4, Fox had Dennis Leary do this long intro.
Oh, I
on
remember
how-
that.
on
I remember
how-
where I was for watching this. I
on
know what you're
how
talking
the
about.
on how the Yankees were, they always own them, and it's just the script, and this is the way
Yes.
it goes. After that intro, 4 straight Red Sox wins.
Can I ask you? I want to
Oh
ask
my
you a question because we're going off something we didn't plan to talk about. I want to ask you this: Game 3 of that series, right? The Yankees
Was that the
demolished.
18-7 game or
I'll
something
never
like
forget
that?
this. I was in my senior year of college. My roommate was a Yankees. He's a Yankees fan. Dave Thomas, great guy, big Yankees fan.
But you hated this team.
Yeah, but we're great friends. We've known each other since we were 11. But we're great friends. That night we said we were watching the game. It turns out they're blowing them out. We were gonna just stay home. They said, let's go out. So we decided to go. We go out, go to this club in Pittsburgh. They're blowing them out. It's crazy. Yeah, music was like that night. We're having a good night.
Music was like
Yankee
that
fans
night.
are happy. They have it on the big screen in this club. People are cheering. Chris, we leave that night. We go back home. I say to my friend Dave, I said, "This is over, man. This is over." Then we got the next game in our apartment watching it. We see that intro with Dennis Leary. They win that game. Dave says to me, "I'm worried." Oh, and I'm a Mets fan, so I'm looking at this like, this is the Yankees. Ain't nothing to worry about.
Right.
My dad
and Boston was still cursed. Boston was still cursed. That's an important part of this.
My dad says, "Not worried, but slightly concerned." Game 5. My dad's like, something's happening. So what I say all this to say, the way everything unfolded, and we all know what happens after that. I understand why somebody like Chris might have said, "I need a timeout and some medication, some NyQuil to get to sleep," because it was the worst way it could have happened.
NyQuil usually, it's the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, headache. Why the hell did I wake up on the kitchen floor medicine? And that is a John Pinette line. I got to give credit where credit is due.
Thank you for doing that.
The late great John Pinette, stand-up comedian.
Yep.
But I would toss and turn with it. So that's,
are you over it? Have you recovered?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you're good.
I have 2 kids now. I mean, that's the other thing. Like, that's something fans don't understand. And I know fans with kids are still rabid like that, but I have bigger fish to fry now.
Yeah, big stuff to worry about. I get that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I mean, listen. I want the Yankees to win. I want the Nets to win. I want the Knicks to win. But if they don't, it's out of my control. I can only control what I can control. That's the best way I could put it. And the next day, the next morning, the way I look at it is, was I wearing a uniform?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nothing I can do.
The control what you can control. I literally said that to myself this morning.
There you go.
Yeah, that's all you can do.
There you go.
All right, so let's actually talk a little bit about the Yankees.
Okay.
All right, let's talk a little Yankees, where they are this year. This is a team that has, if you want to say rebuild.
They have a lot of problems.
Now you're just trying to discuss me.
All you got to do is look at Twitter. All you got to do is look at Twitter.
I got to stay away from that.
They have a lot of problems.
How often do you look at Twitter?
A lot.
You look at a lot? You check your mentions a lot? You check your mentions a lot?
So what's Yankees Twitter saying to you right now? Let's talk about right now. What's Yankees Twitter saying?
Well, I don't have my phone, so I don't know.
Well, not right now, but yeah, in this season,
some Yankee fans did.
First of all, now look, I'm a huge Brett Gardner guy. I always have been since 2005. I saw him in Staten Island. I sat in the dugout with him in Staten Island. That was a great experience for me because I got to be the clubhouse reporter for Staten Island Yankees, like 3 games. Bob Lorenz did play-by-play with Homer Bush back then, and I was in the dugout. And Gardner would come off the field and sit right next to me. I wouldn't talk to him because I didn't want to, break that barrier. But I was able to sit in the dugout and see the interaction and everything. But I said to myself when I saw him that night, I was like, he's fast. He's got power to the gaps. If he could keep hitting through every level, there's no way this guy isn't a major leaguer. No way. He had to hit, though. I don't care how good you are defensively. If you can't hit a lick, you're not going to play in the major leagues. So I went back and I told a couple people, and they're like, what are you, a scout now? And 3 years later, there's Brett Gardner. He gets the call up in 2008, last year at the stadium. And in 2009, of course, him and Melky Cabrera sharing time in center field, and they win the World Series. He's got a World Series ring in his first full season as a member of the Yankees. I've just been a huge fan of his. And about, I don't know, May 9th is when he started hitting again. So before May 9th, maybe the week, 2 weeks before May 9th, I think he was hitting like 126 for like a 2.5 week stretch. And the DFA Gardner tweets start rolling in from all the Yankee fans. Now, granted, this is during a streak where they're 17-1.
Right.
17-1.
Can't relate as a Met fan.
Well,
Gardner,
12-1
DFA Gardner. So,
yes.
The other day,
I think those fans are ridiculous.
I was filling in for Bob
Needless
Lorenz.
to say.
Filling in for Bob Lorenz on Tuesday. So I get into work early and I start looking and let me look at Gardy really quick. So I look at Gardy. I did his numbers. He's like 27 for 58, over his last 18 games. He's hitting like 353. Wow. So I put all of his numbers up on Twitter, and I said, hey, DFA Gardner camp. How's this?
Yeah.
Want to still DFA this guy? He's the prototypical guy that you look at. Maybe when he was at the College of Charleston, he's never going to make it. He's too small. He's too this. He's too that. He just keeps running through stuff and running through stuff and running through stuff.
Yeah.
And to me, he's the prototypical guy that if people told him he's not going to do something,
he's going to do it.
He's going to do it. And every year he does the same thing. And I give Michael Kay all the credit in the world because Don LaGreca was getting all over Gardner. And Michael Kay said, Don, by the end of the season, he's going to be right around 270. You watch. And he was down around 219, 220. He's up to 258.
Do you think, with all that being said, and we'll get to your thoughts on what the team
I feel like
are baseball fans too impatient?
I feel like I'm Gardner's big brother, and I always have to defend him. And,
right.
and I hate when the DFA crowd comes out and they just say DFA this, DFA that. That's not the be all end all.
Right.
You know,
right.
Not everybody is a DFA candidate.
Matt Harvey.
Jose Reyes.
Okay.
Jose Reyes is now getting that talk.
Maybe I root for the wrong team.
Unfortunately.
But yes, to answer your question, Dexter, baseball fans, especially Yankee fans, they're too impatient. It's
New York fans.
Yeah,
I don't even want to put it on the Yankees.
I used to be one of them.
Right.
I'll admit to that. But I've come to the realization I'm able to sit back and take a step back and be out of my body, and it's an out-of-body experience, and say, okay, they're 6-7, which they were. And
yes.
That's when the Mets were 11-1. By
12 how things have changed.
And Mickey Callaway was the best thing since sliced bread, and everybody was saying, fire Aaron Boone. Then the Yankees were 9-9, and people were still losing their minds because the Yankees were 9-9.
Yeah.
It's 18 games.
And the Mets have the worst record
And then you
since.
try to be rational, and you try to say it's 162 games, and then you get all these people on Twitter firing back at you. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
Games in April count. If we don't make the playoffs by a game, I'm going to point back to the game we lost to the...
Okay.
I disagree.
Okay, listen.
Okay.
Okay, listen.
Tell him, Chris.
It's a 162-game season. Now, here's the thing, though, that's different with this season. There have only been 2 calendar days that the Yankees and Red Sox both lost on the same day.
That's crazy.
Red Sox have 43 wins. I think they're 43-19.
43-19.
And the Yankees are 40-18.
So game back. Yep.
This is going to really stink that if these teams keep doing this, guys, one of these teams is going to have to play a wild card playing game.
Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen.
We're going back to the NL Central a couple of years back.
Yep.
When it was the Cubs, the Pirates,
and the Cardinals.
And the Cardinals.
Yes,
yep.
And the Pirates and the Cubs had to play that one game play, and I think they had 98 and 97 wins.
Yeah, I think we're headed for that in the American League.
And Joe and Evan were just talking about it on the way in. We might have 200-win teams, but one of those 100-win teams is going to have to play a wild card game.
Yeah.
So, to allay everything that I just said, just to be on the side of those Yankee fans who are a little impatient and do that, in this situation, in this case, you may be a little bit right.
Right, and that game difference. Now, how good do you think this team can be? Because Brian and I have talked about this too, and just looking at it, how good do you think this Yankee team can be?
Well,
this year.
This year, I don't think they're the 114-win 98 team. I just don't. I think they need to pick up another pitcher, and don't hit me for saying that. And I know, you're saying, wow, this team needs help.
Well, no, actually, we're ready to give you Jacob deGrom.
We don't.
Like we
you don't want Jacob deGrom.
You got to tell me who you're asking.
We have a
question about that.
We'll get to that in a second. But go where you were going, because you were saying that you think they need to pick up another pitcher.
I think they need. Sonny Gray, what he's doing lately, 3 of his last 4 starts have been phenomenal. And you can't say, well, it was against the Royals, it was against the Orioles, and it was against the Blue Jays. You pitch who you have to pitch against.
Yeah.
And what he's done against those teams who are major league teams, whether you want to like it or not, those starts have been phenomenal. The Angels start, not so much. And you know what? His next start is against the Nationals, and it's at home. And his ERA discrepancy as a Yankee between home and away games is like, north and south, and they couldn't be further apart. I think the ERA on the road we just did on the postgame show last night was just over 2, and the ERA at home is over 6.5. So against that Nationals lineup at Yankee Stadium, we're going to get a good litmus test on how Sonny Gray's doing. But the movement on his pitches, if he has a friendly strike zone, if the umpire behind the plate, and I forget who it was last night, but he did have a very gracious strike zone, and that benefits Sonny Gray. But this team could be extremely good. But unfortunately, they have a Red Sox team. The Belmont's this Saturday, so this is somebody's Justify. I don't know who that is yet, but there's a horse right next to Justify. Justify is whoever's going to win this division, and I don't know. I just don't know.
Either way.
Because hey, the trade deadline comes up for the Red Sox too.
Yeah,
they could make a move just as well as the Yankees can make a move.
What's an arm out there you would get?
Well, I just heard John Heyman, because everybody's saying Cole Hamels.
And some are saying Madison Bumgarner.
Even though he just came back and
But the
preached law
Giants
there.
are back
in it, and they're in a
playing
division that's
better.
horrible.
That's why I didn't
They're
think
playing in a horrible division.
Yeah, where are the Giants
and
right now?
Madison Bumgarner is a national treasure in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Why would they? That would be like trading Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is like the face of the franchise. Why would you? Well, all right, let me backstep. Aaron Judge didn't win the MVP in the World Series. Okay,
Right.
I get it.
But he probably will one day.
You know what I mean? Face
Right.
of the
probably will one day.
franchise-wise,
Right.
I would not do that if I were the San Francisco Giants. That's telling your fan base, well, we're in a bad division and we're competing, but yeah, we want to hit the reset button. No, you want to keep fans into it the whole season. You want to keep winning. So I don't think Bumgarner is a possibility unless the Giants really go south before the trade deadline.
Right.
Then maybe
What's
they
his-
come back into play.
I don't remember his contract situation off the top of my head.
I don't either.
I remember Michael K mentioning lower tier guys also. It was like, I think they were both in the same division though. One of them was Chris Archer and another
He's
one.
on the DL though.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's
This
hurt.
this was earlier, and another one was it Marcus Stroman? I want to say it was Marcus
He's
Stroman.
on a DL too. He's been hurt. Another Blue Jay actually.
Who?
John Heyman brought his name up today. I never thought of it. Jay Happ.
J-Hap, yeah.
He's a lefty.
Gives you innings.
He gives you innings.
Yeah.
With this lineup, you don't have to be Sandy Koufax.
Well, Jason Vargas was supposed to give the Mets innings, so there's that.
Thanks for reminding me. about
yeah,
He still might.
Yeah,
But,
but I think
He was supposed to be. He was brought in.
J-Hab's
to be
better than
innings
Jason
eater.
Vargas. We're not saying that, but I get it.
Yeah.
But Jason
Do you
Vargas,
like that? Is that so? You,
I wouldn't mind that
it
at
seems
all.
it seems to me from what you're saying, Chris, is that you understand that you're probably not going to go out, or there's not a frontline starter on the market right now.
Could you
to
guess-
get.
Isn't.
takes. I'll.
Would you? Do you think there's any? And I know where Brian's going with this. So
Where?
Brian, are you talking about the Mets? Any possibility of DeGrom or Syndergaard?
Well,
Oh
you
no
guys
no
are-
no
you guys are
no!
Met
You want a
fans.
lefty? I'll give you Steven Matz for like nothing.
I wouldn't have fucked him for nothing. And what you know what? Here's the thing. This is what it comes down to for the Yankees, Chris. From where I look, and we'll get to the Mets in a 2nd.
We're already there.
What are you willing to give up? Because you have so much young talent.
Yeah, and other teams are
and
going to
there's
want to
some
pry that
Some
way.
guys don't have a place to play right now.
Well, I tweeted this the other day.
Yeah.
And I said, if there's a trade partner with the Yankees and they even utter the consonant G, I would stop the trade negotiations right there. Because you're not getting Glaber Torres.
So every Yankee fan I speak to is like,
We
no.
have a video submission regarding that
Nah.
later.
Yeah, we'll have you answer a
So-
question we had from a fan that asked
it
about
was
that. Yes.
Glaber, and there was another name, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll get to that.
You're definitely not getting Glaber.
So you're not giving up Glaber Torres. Gotcha.
You're not. You don't think the Yankees are either.
No, I don't think they're that guy.
Even for like a DeGrom or.
No, that guy's a middle infielder and he's a stud for the next 10 years.
Who are you willing to give up of the Yankees' prize prospects if for the right person?
I don't want.
And I don't even know what that means.
It's
I
gonna be a
don't
package.
want to, but there's such a logjam in the outfield, and Aaron Hicks is a switch hitter, and if he's not up here now, I don't know when he's gonna. Clint Frazier is a major league hitter
Yep.
playing at AAA right now.
And can play center. Can play center.
He can play center. He
Yep.
can play left. I wouldn't. He's so athletic. He could probably play right too. He is so versatile. His bat speed. You guys has seen him at the major league level. You saw the walk-off home run against the Brewers last year.
Yep.
I mean, the guy could flat out hit. He can. And although I wouldn't want to get rid of him because I think next year he's your starting left fielder and maybe Brett Gardner is your fourth outfielder and he could fill in center and left. But if that would bring me a top-of-the-line starter back, I would have to bite the bullet and I would have to do it.
Yeah.
Because
He's included in that deal.
Yet another guy that the Mets could use because they have Dominic Smith playing outfield in AAA right now.
And Chance Adams.
And that's no disrespect to Dominic Smith.
no, you're just making me realize how bad the situation
But it's like
is.
the fact that they're actually like, hey, you play first base, but we have to try you
but-
out. He got an outfield assist already.
But we're sitting here talking about the Yankees and Mets doing something, and if you listen to Mike Francesa, he always says...
I don't.
But if you did...
End the segment right there.
if you did, and he's plugged into that organization, he says those two teams would never do a deal.
And I could understand. Listen,
he's
here's
not
the
the
thing with
only
that.
one that said that.
Yeah,
too.
and I don't.
There
wanna
was
s-
a story.
Yeah, I don't think he's wrong.
I don't remember who said this, but last year, I don't remember which trade deadline was July or August, but they were trying to, Jay Bruce was involved, and then they walked away pissed off at each other over Jay Bruce. So how could they possibly deal like a DeGrom or a Syndergaard, that magnitude of a deal? I remember there being something
But
like
as
that.
a Met fan, let me.
We want to do this deal.
Let me spin this around.
No, but let's hear what Chris says.
Let me spin this around.
Right.
Do you want to hit the reset button? I mean,
Not
do you
yet.
want to get rid of DeGrom? Do you want to get rid of Syndergaard?
So here's my thing.
If
Go ahead, Brian.
And we've said this before, I've said this on one of our things that we do online, Ain't Hard to Tell Extra, was that in July at the trade deadline, if they're really, like if they're still in fourth place or even if the Marlins pass them, which, I mean, it could happen at this point, then you kind of you should start selling assets then at that point because it's like you have Cespedes here for another 2 years, I
2
think.
years after this country.
You have DeGrom.
The Braves aren't going to get any worse.
Yeah, that's
The
another.
Phillies are getting
Phillies
better.
are not going to get any
That's
worse.
the thing, and the Mets probably have one of the worst farm systems in baseball in terms of like elite Your best prospect right now is probably Peter Alonso, who's hitting like 340 or whatever it is in AA or AAA right now, and he's supposed to come up soon, but they still have Adrian Gonzalez playing first base. And then they have Dominic Smith in AAA, whose average dipped to like 270 something. And then there's other guys, but nobody who's really, they traded one up. I think it was Miranda Gonzalez. They traded one to get AJ Ramos, and he's been a bust, and now he's hurt. So I think at some point in July, if it really collapses, then they should probably look into like.
So I'm with Brian on that. That I think that
I don't want to.
I think sometimes
I love Cespedes.
So
You know
do
what
I,
mean? Like,
but-
I will always, the same way I feel about Johan Santana for getting that no-hitter and then his career was done after that because he was never the same. I always love him for that. I always love Cespedes for coming here in 2015 and
pushing us.
legitimately taking this team to the World Series pretty much by himself. And then Daniel Murphy helped out in the playoffs, and then the Mets couldn't re-sign him either.
So my
But,
thing is about, I think there's always this small window where you actually have the chance to reset and somewhat be sort of competitive without making it all fall out. I think the problem with the Mets is what Brian hit upon, is that they don't have any young talent that's coming up.
Yeah,
How
none.
is this team getting better soon without young talent? Now, here's the thing. It would all be different if we had an ownership, this is speaking for Mets fans, that would actually spend money. Now, if I knew that the Mets would actually go and get, let's say, Manny Machado this offseason,
That's true.
he's a guy you could plug into that lineup, he's young. How old is Machado? 25, 26? What are you talking about?
26,
A
something like that.
26-year-old. We know the Mets aren't signing that guy.
With
You
the
know
healthy
this.
Cespedes?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
See?
Yeah.
But if they could go spend and plug that hole, revamp the bullpen, the Mets could still compete. They're not that old.
Yeah,
but because we know
They're
Chris,
not that far away
Yes,
either.
That's the thing. That's
the
true,
thing,
too.
Chris. But
And that's what has to drive you crazy
it
more
is.
than anything.
But they're not
But
going to
you know what it is?
We
In
know
pro
this.
sports, and we all know this, the worst place to be is
Is
in the middle. The worst.
And the worst place
especially-
to be in baseball is the middle where you ain't gonna spend.
Exactly.
That's what they're-
That's even worse than
that's
being in
even
the middle.
worse.
Is being in the worst, and you have like that
That's a
kind of
vicious
So
ownership.
maybe
cycle,
I feel like maybe hearing both of that, you can understand where we as
No,
Mets fans are coming
course.
from in that.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey,
because think about it, like, because we not even just an emotional
I
attachment.
feel like I'm a psychologist in the middle of two Mets.
oh, this is therapy right now. Oh, this is
But-
therapy.
and
Can
this
we get
is
a couch, Matt?
this
Yeah,
is the
yeah,
this
Matt, we
is
should have a couch.
this is the only pro sports team that I still get like this about, because this is like, my dad is a baseball like diehard, so this is the sport that I grew up with, and still, even though I don't love baseball as much as I love basketball or boxing now, this is still one of the sports that I grew up with and I was always playing or whatever.
That's my dad too. My dad played semi-pro. He played
Yeah.
he played on an all African American
Ooh.
baseball team.
Really?
Nice.
Semi-pro back in the day.
You
know-
got Dexter's
In Jersey?
attention.
You know who their shortstop was?
No,
A 16-year-old Drew Pearson.
really.
Wow.
He was a junior in high school. He's playing semi-professional baseball with the. I think my dad said the name of the team was the New Brunswick Raiders.
New
my
Brunswick
dad,
Raiders,
And my
okay.
dad was the catcher.
What?
And Phil Hill, God rest his soul,
Mhm.
played with my father, and he used to do local TV with me. I used to broadcast the high school football games and basketball games, and Phil told me, no one stole on your father.
Really?
Hmm
Your father's the legend.
Well, yeah, I still have the letters from the Yankees, the Cardinals, the Mets, and the Braves. They all sent him letters, and he actually had a tryout with the Yankees at the old Yankee Stadium.
Really?
But he played football, too, on a full ride to Lafayette. And as a freshman, he broke his ankle in 3 places, lost his ride, and my grandparents didn't have the money to send him, so he was done. And then when he tried out for the Yankees, he had the bum ankle. And, it's the same sob story. He went down there, he hit a home run over the old reserve scoreboard,
He can say he did that.
and he couldn't run.
Yeah.
And he couldn't run. And it was around 68, 69,
Huh.
somewhere like that. So,
Wow.
yeah, but he played, I'm pretty sure it was him, and there was one other white guy on the team, but it was pretty much all African-American baseball team.
Team. A semi-pro league.
And they played in South River,
South
my
River.
hometown.
Huh. Nice.
There's a gem.
That's not, I was going to ask you where you're from. South
Yeah.
River. Okay. Cool. All right. This is good. All right. So is there any hope? Any hope for Mets fans? Is there any hope?
Mets?
Yes.
I
You said that. You said that
I
like
couldn't-
Jim Moore. With
No,
playoffs.
I couldn't tell if it was
Like Jim Moore.
those. The teams and the consonants are right next to each other, so I didn't know if it was Mets or Nets.
Oh no. Oh no. It was Mets.
There's more hope for the Nets, I think, at this point.
Yeah. Who
I
is it?
think so too.
Wow. I think you're right. Though.
But it's
I
you
do.
know what it is though? It's management. Like, because
I
I
agree.
I remember who pointed this out recently.
Well,
but
ownership, Prokhorov saw that the team was going in the wrong direction. He
Yeah.
put it in the right direction.
he changed his way of thinking. I don't know what the hell.
So you really like the future Mets. You talked before about the Nets. Excuse me. You talked about how you like the coach. You like the general manager. We've talked about this and been encouraged about it. You're very encouraged about the direction they're headed in.
I am,
Yeah.
but they still need
yeah,
big time free
Oh
agents
yeah,
to sign
yeah.
here.
Do you think they
They
can?
do.
Do you think they will be able? Excuse me, can't speak today. Will be able to attract big time free agents coming up.
I hope and pray they can. I mean, I don't know. There was a rumor that a little birdie told me 2 years ago, and I won't bring his name up because it didn't happen, but
We might have heard this rumor too.
he was talking to his brother, and his brother told him that he loves Brooklyn, and he was thinking about it, and that was Kevin Durant before he went to the Warriors. So that really got my eyebrows raised, and all Brooklyn needs, all they need is for one guy
Yeah.
to say, I want to go there, and I want to win there.
Yeah.
And somebody will follow.
Yeah.
You know it's a tight-knit community. You know that these guys all want to play. They secretly want to play together at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
If one guy gets here, somebody else will follow. And the Nets right now, and I'm sorry I changed the subject.
No, it's fine.
But again, grew up a Knicks fan, but I am super passionate about the Nets. I really am. Rondé, the way he's grown.
Great dude.
Karras,
Yeah.
the way he's grown. Now you got D'Lo. You still don't. The jury's still out on him.
That's true.
I mean, he played well down the stretch last year, but
gotten hurt a lot.
Here's my one thing,
Uh-oh.
and I hope Alan Crabb is a viewer of the podcast.
Well, we did have Spencer
We have
Dinwiddie
Spencer
on one
Dinwiddie
point.
on here.
So
So
And I love Spencer.
Oh, Spencer's a great guy.
Oh yeah,
great
yeah,
guy.
absolutely.
I don't want to hear Allen showed up anymore. If AC ain't in the building every game, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me.
Message for you, Alan Crabb.
Yeah.
You know that? You know that story? One of the pre-games or post-games, he said sometimes Allen shows up and sometimes AC
I heard
shows
about.
up.
Yeah.
Oh, so I did hear about that, but I never watched him actually say this.
Right.
So I was aware of that. But what you're saying is we need you to show up all the time.
We need AC.
Yeah.
We don't need Allen.
Allen.
Tell Allen as soon as you walk into the arena to stay outside.
You're not welcome in here.
Yeah. But I do think, to your point, that yes, all it takes is one, and this is not going to be a great comparison, but we did kind of see this with the Knicks at one point where they got Amari Stoudemire, and then after that they became an attraction or whatever.
But you don't want that person to be Amari Stoudemire.
No, it just didn't work out the same exact way.
No, that's no disrespect to Amari Stoudemire.
Yeah,
No.
because he had 3 years left on his knees, and they signed him to a 5-year deal, whatever.
Yeah.
But still, in the spirit of it,
He had that
that's pretty
microfracture, right?
Yeah,
the microfracture.
It's a different case scenario, but the spirit of it, it's all in the same ballpark. And free agency, they're not going to have a ton of money this year unless they make some moves in the next couple of weeks, which might happen. But next year, especially when they're going to have
their own draft pick,
they're going to have decisions to make with. Rondae Hollis Jefferson's going to hit free agency in. He's going to be a restricted free agent after next year. D'Angelo Russell, you know what I mean? Like, you have guys' contracts that are expiring.
and let me say this too.
Carroll.
A lot of people give Billy King a lot of grief, and they give Bobby Marks a lot of grief for bringing in Pierce and Garnett and Jason Terry.
Yep.
But let me tell you something. Prokhorov wanted a championship within the first 5 years of him owning the team.
Yep.
That's pressure. And you know what? That decision could have come from ownership. You don't know that. I don't know that, but it could have. And Billy King and Bobby Marks did what they thought they needed to do to get Brooklyn a title. And you know what? It almost worked. That series against the Heat that they lost 4-1, they lost it in 5.
Yep.
I can remember, and you guys could correct me if I'm wrong, but 3 of those games, the Nets had fourth quarter leads.
Yeah, it was like Rangers Kings. It was like the Rangers Kings Stanley Cup.
That up.
Yeah. That's painful for me too.
Talk about a team that makes me lose sleep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Understood. That is a good comparison, though. But yes,
I'm
wasn't
surprised.
helpful.
This is like my first hockey reference in
No, but
podcast
you know what,
history.
Chris, you're right, and I think 3 of those games they lost by 6 points or less, if I remember correctly, when I was covering that series.
Right.
But they had fourth quarter leads. They were right there.
They could have beaten the Heat, and that was the semis.
Second round.
Semis,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
They could have beaten the Heat, and they could have went. And a big part of why they didn't is Darren Williams.
Darren Williams, yeah.
He hamstrung that team. They begged that guy to lead.
Yeah.
Begged
Oh,
him
yeah,
to
this
lead.
I know.
Stephen A. Smith
Paul
said it
Pierce and Kevin Garnett, they came in there with a ring, and they were like, "This is your team. Lead us."
best. Yeah.
But he wasn't that guy.
He wasn't
And I
that
know-
Stephen A.
guy.
Smith said it best, where he said that, and we got to go to break, obviously, but Stephen A. Smith said that at that point, Darren Williams, he had the easiest job out of any superstar in the NBA, where all he had to do was play. Like, he had the
Yeah.
leadership around him.
Yep.
He had, like, the player, all the stuff around him with Garnett, with Pierce, with everybody, and Joe Johnson, but he just didn't play up to expectations.
And he was not. I know this for a fact. He was not well liked or respected in that locker room
Yeah.
at that time by those other guys that Brian just mentioned.
Yeah.
Let's just say they didn't care for his
Yeah.
lack of leadership.
He did play dodgeball with him one time, though.
I did play dodgeball with Darren
That
Williams.
video is somewhere on that Daily.
You can check it out on Nets
You
Daily.
Google Dexter Henry, it's one of the first
This is
things
a
that
couple
come up.
years off of an Achilles injury, so we're not going to talk about that.
Your Achilles?
My Achilles,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
That's a whole nother story. Not Darren,
Your
not Darren,
Achilles,
yeah,
not
not Darren Williams' Achilles. All right, we're going to take a break for our last segment. We come back, we're going to talk some hip hop with Chris Shearn, who told me that he's stuck in the late 80s and early 90s with hip hop. Some boxing, and we had our video submission of the week, a question for Chris Shearn about the Yankees. All that when we come back on Ain't Hard to Tell podcast.
Sports Guru is the place where fans talk about sports via video. All videos are 60 seconds or shorter. Sports Guru makes the video look more professional and fun by adding automated on-screen graphics. You can follow your favorite sports by team, trending, new, or by people you follow, and more. Type in the title of your video and it will auto-magically go into your on-screen graphics. It's just that simple. Tag your teams and publish sports. Let's talk sports.
It ain't hard to tell where to get the latest merchandise from Backpack Broadcasting. Gear is now available via TeePublic. Visit the Backpack Broadcasting TeePublic online store to get shirts, hoodies, mugs, and phone cases. Represent your favorite Backpack Broadcasting shows, including the Sports Walk, Sideline Stories, and of course, the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast. Check out the special offers for our podcast listeners at http://t.pub/lic/backpack. Get in the game with your official Backpack Broadcasting gear today.
All right, welcome back to Ain't Hard to Tell podcast, episode 33, which Chris Shearn has given me another person that we should use number, and I like this number.
Right.
Who'd you say?
Tony Dorsett.
Tony Dorsett, University of Pittsburgh.
I had that Cowboys jersey, I guess they called them. It was an old school, like it had the numbers that kind of peeled off in the dryer.
Yeah, I remember those.
You know what I mean? And it was a dark blue Cowboys jersey. I grew up until 86.
Uh-oh, you're going to disappoint some people.
I was a Cowboy fan.
Ooh.
And I'll give you the reason. Drew Pearson.
That's...
Drew Pearson and Joe Theismann. Drew Pearson and Joe Theismann both went to South River High School. Of course, my alma mater, and every day the Wall of Fame,
and
which I'm
goes.
in now.
I saw that coming.
Me too.
Which I'm
Which
I'm on now, which I'm very proud to say
They
that.
put you on, though. Okay.
Yeah, because every day I walked by their pictures and I would say, wow, it would be cool if I was up there one day. And I am now, and I thank South River for doing that for me. It's a big-time honor for me. But Drew, who played with my dad, used to come back to South River all the time and give me autographed pictures. And I have a picture of him I could show you guys off the air at Pacers Field in South River with Drew Pearson and my older brother, my younger brother, my older brother, me, and my two cousins hugging us.
Now, if I do Friday Night Football for News 12 in New Jersey, and when was I at South River? I can't remember if it was last season or the season before. I was at South River, but I didn't go inside the schools. So I was just there for the football field. But if I do, I'm going to go check and see the picture.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a picture with your picture in the hall.
A selfie?
And I'm going to text it to you.
but I could have been a Redskins fan too.
Could have been.
Because Joe went to the school too, but I just had that personal connection with Drew. And like when you're a kid and a professional athlete, you're going to root for him.
You're going to do that. Okay.
And then if you want to live in the same house as your father after that guy retires, you become a Giant fan.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, your father let you know what was up. Yeah, you have to do it like that. Yeah. All right. So before we talked a little about sports all the way through, but quickly before we get to some hip hop, what do you think the impact has been? Because you work at a regional sports network in the Yes, and you said how you felt like you knew it was going to be successful because the Yankees, the brand was strong. What do you think the impact of regional sports networks has been? Because you've had the Yes, you've got SNY here in New York, you got Nesson up in New England, Boston area. How do you think it's impacted sports? I mean, there aren't too many in the country, but how do you think it's impacted sports?
I think a lot of it comes down to, teams, organizations. They see how lucrative it can be. And let's face it, the Yes Network, the Yankees, SNY, and the Mets, it's another moneymaker. It really is for the organization. And, back in the day, I can remember the Mets on Channel 9 and the Yankees were on Channel 11.
I even remember that.
Phil Rizzuto. And, I mean, it stinks. Everybody has cable now, though, so everybody can get most people have cable. I don't say everybody has cable, but most people have cable, and you could see these things, and it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. And you can do it online now.
And you could do it online.
Yep.
I mean, you could basically. I'll just hold it from now.
Ah,
You could
fine,
basically. You could
Yeah.
basically. Everything is readily available to anybody if you want it. MLB.com, you could buy a package for the season and you could watch all the games for all the teams. To me, I just think it's great to be a part of and to be a part of that from the inception of a regional like that. And now Fox has 80% ownership of us, so now we're part of under the Fox umbrella, and it's just great to see how different places work and how different places operate. I think, in my estimation, I think it's been great for the regionals, the impact that they've had, and people and teams get to identify with that network.
Yeah.
I don't like, and this is not because I work for Yes, and it's not because I've been there since we launched, but if you go around the dial, and this is not a knock on other regionals either, but I think, our crews, our play-by-play, our everything, and SNY too. I'll throw them out there too.
Yeah.
Gary Cohn is great at what he does.
Oh, yeah,
and Keith,
he makes Mets games so watchable.
and Keith
and Ron,
and Ron and Ian Eagle for us.
Yeah.
During that season,
And Ryan Rucco.
and Ryan Rucco. This area is just chock full, I think, and it's New York, but it's chock full of the best people in the business, and I think that's brought that out too. So I think that's another good aspect of the regionals
points.
since they came around.
Yeah, no, really good points there. All right, we're going to talk a little hip-hop.
Yes.
Or music in general. 'cause
Music in general.
You told me this, and
Do
sometimes...
not ask me anything about music today.
Oh,
because
see, and I was going to
I
get to that
am
in some way.
lost.
When we met, you said that.
I am lost.
I remember that.
How lost are you? Like, if your kids are like,
I
hey,
would
Dad,
know
what's this?
Migos or...
But you know Migos.
Only because Matt Stucco, who works for Yes...
They do this with Don LaGreca on the Michael
Oh
Gay
my
show all the
God.
time.
only because he came up to me 2 days ago and said, "Yo, did you hear that Migos song? It sounds like they
I
say...
would have paid to see your face when that was asked.
It sounds like they say Sheeran in it." It's like, what? A, I don't know who you're talking about. B, I never heard the song because I don't know who you're talking about. So he played it for me, and I think he was saying Ed Sheeran. So it was around. It was a part of his
But
song.
then how does that go with? Was he trying to tie it to Chris Shearn?
I don't know.
I'm just trying to see where he was going.
Whatever. But for me, like growing up in high school, my cousin, I'll credit him. He came back he lived down in Florida. He came back and Run DMC. They started everything for me. There's nothing like a good beat with great lyrics. And that's all
I
that.
agree.
And Missy Elliott, I listen to all this stuff.
I love Missy Elliott. I'm a huge Missy Elliott fan.
When I cut the grass,
Yeah,
I listen to my gym mix, and Missy's on my gym mix.
I love this.
And at the end of one of her songs, she's talking about, and I can't remember what it was. I can't remember the song, but at the end of it, she goes, "This is hip hop. It's fun.
Work it.
That's it.
Work
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, work it.
Yeah.
This is hip hop. This is fun. If you want to dance during your songs,
Yeah.
you want to mean.
Yep.
She says, "Yep."
If you want a mean mug, if you want to wear grill, it's hip hop. It's fun, and I think that's what is lost on it nowadays. Sometimes, back in the day, it was a beat, and it was guys having fun. And look, EPMD, I'm huge fans of EPMD.
Nice.
Eric and Parrish making dollars.
Yep.
Run DMC, Big Daddy Kane, Jay-Z, and Marley Marl, they were with Big Daddy.
Yep.
So they kind of branched off from him. There's one Big Daddy CD. I'm pretty sure it's a Big Daddy thing. I think that's what it's called.
I think that is the name of one of his albums.
Or Big Daddy might be the name of it.
Yeah.
every song I know every word.
So you're someone who's you're a fan of
Can't repeat them on the on the podcast.
Right.
Yeah, I
So
know every
you're
word.
really a big fan of that era of the late 80s when you look from 85 to maybe like 89, 90.
Yeah. I mean,
East Coast hip hop and
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and they had the East and West Coast battle and all that stuff. I love Tupac and Biggie too, but that's when I started to kind of tune out, I guess. So I go from like maybe Run DMC all the way up to Biggie and Tupac, and everything in the middle.
Right.
right. Okay.
So this is like 84 to 96 ish.
And my wife, I'll credit her. My wife got me into Jay-Z. And I'll
Really?
give you a funny story about Jay. He was at the groundbreaking for Barclays Center, and I
Yes, that's right.
covered that for Yes. And it was me and Jessica Taff at the time. She was the Nets sideline reporter.
Mm-hmm.
And as luck would have it, we were at two different locations where the dignitaries were because it was kind of a big setup. And she was over here and I was over here. And it just turned out that Jay was standing next to me when it was time to interview him.
Yeah.
So I grabbed him and we were talking during the break. And I was like, it's not long now, don't worry. And I was like, hey, my wife's a big fan. And he goes, what about you? And I was like, yeah, no, me too. But I just wanted to tell you that she was, that was more important
Were
to
you
me.
really a fan then, or you just kind of said it?
No,
so
I
you
was.
were- Okay.
I was, and to be honest, to be fair, I had just started
Just got into
getting
his
into
music.
his
Yeah.
stuff. Like, allow me to reintroduce myself.
PSA. Public
PSA.
service. Yep.
Public service.
That song, if that's on my gym mix. If that
It's a
comes
great-
on
That's a great word.
in the middle of a set, it's like Popeye with spinach, man.
Yeah.
It makes you push harder.
That
yeah.
song just like it embodies like how hard I've had to fight, to get to everything that I've gotten to. And when he says, allow me to reintroduce myself, it's like breaking through that wall. Like every time it's like breaking through that wall. So it just like, it starts in my feet. And when music is able to do that to you,
Yeah.
you know the artist is doing something right. When
Huh.
it's able to grab you from your toes and explode out of your head, that's music.
And there's
man.
there's some songs that just really capture that feeling. So I definitely
I feel that.
I definitely can understand.
Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
I have the Rocky soundtrack on my workout mix too.
Hey.
I mean, I have a very eclectic music taste. My favorite rock band of all time, and they're not really a rock band, they're punk, is the Police.
The Police. Ah.
I think Gordon Sumner's, we all know him as Sting,
Yep.
is a
I love
poet.
that you went. I love that you went to his real name.
He's a
there.
poet.
I love that. Yeah.
He's
Great.
he's
Great
an-
songwriter.
I just said this to my wife the other day. One of my favorite Police songs is the do 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 the da da da.
I actually don't know that song.
Me neither.
There's a bar in it where he says, poets, priests, and politicians
Good alliteration.
have words to thank for their positions. Words that scream for your submission, and no one's jamming their transmission. And if that doesn't,
It's very powerful,
just
but
go-
political
I mean,
line.
that was in the early 80s.
80s. That's very
And
powerful.
if you take that and just let it go into today, I mean, you sit back, damn, boom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he's right. Think about it. Those three, poets, priests, politicians, have words to thank for their positions, words that scream for your submission, no one's jamming their transmission. Because when their eloquence escapes you, their logic ties you up and rapes you.
Damn.
The do-do-do,
That actually speaks so much to
the da-da-da.
speaks to so much going
Because
on
that's
today.
what you hear.
Yeah. No, it speaks so much going on today.
And the sheep hear it, and then we fight each other.
Love there. That's
We
it.
are fighting each other.
We are. Well, Chris, we want to thank you for coming
That's
on.
it?
That is it. We're gonna have
have
a
a video
we're gonna have an extra segment with the
right.
video question for Krista. We're gonna separate
right.
that.
Gotcha.
So we're gonna have that. But for this portion of it, that is it. We got to thank you because you came from Connecticut.
Stop.
We could go
In
for another hour,
traffic.
honestly.
And you came out and hung and had a
could
great
too.
time with us.
I could too. Listen to me. I sincerely mean this. I love doing stuff like this.
Yeah.
And you guys, obviously, I met Brian sitting waiting for the Nets shoot-around to end, and we just made an instant connection.
Yeah, he was
So-
replacing Sarah the one day she wasn't.
Right.
Oh, he's there for
And-
Sarah,
yeah,
okay,
no,
good.
one day.
It was like
Yeah, we have a couple of hard workers. Sarah Kustok, right to Michael Grady.
Grady, yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but I just wanted to say I really appreciate you having me on.
No, we're fans of what you do, and you've been nice since I met you back in 2010. Fortunately, on a sad
Don't
day.
bring that up again.
Yes, a sad day.
8 years.
8 years. Yeah, I know. Makes us both feel old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in my 20s then.
Did Dexter have his piercing in his ear?
No, I did not. I did not at that
I had
time.
one too. For a hot minute.
Yeah, I did too. But we neither of us had it at that time. That's all that matters
No.
there. Neither of us had it at that time. And see, Brian's trying to embarrass me. You know,
Why is that
no,
embarrassing?
Nobody needs to know about that.
Why is that
It's the whole time. It's not
I just wanna know
embarrassing.
if
I'm
you
not
had a
really
piercing.
embarrassing.
Are you a Nas fan by any chance?
My wife is.
Okay.
She loves Nas.
Okay.
Nice.
Loves
so we're
Nas.
we're in the same.
My wife and I have
even though Nas is not making me.
She and I have like basically the same musical taste, and she's opened my ears up to other.
See, that's
artists.
good. That's what you're supposed. That's what you're supposed to do in a relationship. And shout out to your wife for
Jackie.
Jackie for coming through and saving you from that MSNBC.
Yeah. Nice callback.
Nice call like that. That is Chris Shearn, host for the Yes Network. He's a studio host. You can catch him do pre-post Yankees, also Nets. He does a ton of stuff for the network. Chris, thank you once again for coming.
Thank you, Dexter. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it.
All right, that's it for the Ain't Hard Tell podcast, episode number 33. Hopefully we have Chris back again sometime soon. See you guys. Peace.